Fantasy football rankings for 2026. Let's talk about guys who I am higher on than consensus. It's going to be a positive video. I've got a wide range of guys to talk about. Guys who had disappointing 2025 seasons, and you might need a little bit of convincing to buy back into a bounce back. And I am here to tell you all of the reasons why they will be better in 2026. Guys who had strong finishes to 2025, and you just flat out might not be buying into actually trusting them, or guys who are being underestimated and will be excellent value picks this year. Who am I leaning into in 2026? Let's start off with a bang here. Saquon Barkley, it is running back, bounce back season, people, and Saquon Barkley is still Saquon Barkley. We're going to do a multi-season breakdown here to really understand what happened from that incredible 2024 season to now. The 2025 season was obviously a massive reality check for Saquon Barkley. It looked like he was fighting an uphill battle from week one. Thankfully, he was not alone on that one. And it wasn't just a late season fade. He really struggled the entire season. And when you look at it in the context of what happened the year before, it does actually make perfect sense. The workload that he took on back in 2024 was massive. It finally caught up with him, leaving him with heavy legs, a clear dip in production in 2025. Running backs coming off of outlier seasons with very aggressive volume are simply liabilities heading into the next season. So him having a down season in 2025 kind of was a little bit predictable. But he's still Saquon Barkley, so of course we drafted him as Saquon Barkley, but the outcome, not really that massive of an issue. However, that is exactly why 2026, the outlook for that is so much more optimistic, because Barkley had only 280 carries in the regular season in 2025, and the first round playoff loss does help that workload as well. There's also the fact that, again, this was not just him. If everyone else was humming, the offense was perfect, and it was just Saquon Barkley being a outlier that was struggling, I could see the hesitation there. But the Eagles were a complete mess as a whole, and let's be honest, this is not the first time that we have seen the Eagles look completely out of whack, only to bounce back after making changes organizationally. And we might have some changes still on the horizon, we don't know. But the big change that we know for a fact is the change in offensive vision. The Eagles will have a new offensive coordinator in Sean Mannion, who has been in great systems, fantastic systems. So he comes in with a wealth of knowledge that will benefit this Eagles team. So if we get this change in system for the positive and fresher legs for Saquon Barkley, now Barkley is in the prime spot to remind everybody why he is still a premier back in this league, and I love the discount that we are getting on him. Same concept for Josh Jacobs that we had with Saquon Barkley. And quite frankly, we have seen this play out exactly as it did before with Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs had the massive outlier year in terms of volume in 2022 with the Raiders, where he had 340 carries over 1,600 yards plus a bunch of receptions. Then he had a down year. Then he bounced back in Green Bay with 16 touchdowns, over 1,300 yards, massive workload. And what happened in 2025? Down year. It's natural for people to panic, right? And say it's age. You know, you've always had skepticism. He is 28 now. And often that has been a year when, you naturally see that decline in running backs. But we are continuing to see that as long as the running backs don't have massive injuries like Achilles injuries, they are staying fresher into their late 20s. And Josh Jacobs does fit that mold. There is still plenty of tread on the tire. Now, I will say this as well. And I've seen some people say that his workload was reduced. It was not. You just have to contextualize what happened. 234 carries on 15 games seems ugly at the surface, but the Packers were making a playoff push, and Josh Jacobs tried to play through an injury he should not have. I watched it in real time. The numbers are going to look weird, and they're going to look worse than they actually were. When he was healthy, he was pumping out touchdowns, and he did still manage 14 on the season. Fresher legs with no injuries will result in better efficiency. He is still a high volume play. Now, I will also say this. Do not panic, because the Packers are going to draft a running back. It's likely going to happen. Emmanuel Wilson moved on, and Marshawn Lloyd has clearly shown that he is not trustworthy to stay on the field. They likely will add a running back in round 4 or later, and that actually might help us get a discount on his ADP, because remember back in Vegas when the Raiders drafted Zamir White and Josh Jacobs played in the Hall of Fame game, and everybody panicked and said, oh my God, they swore up and down that Zamir White was the future and he was stealing Josh Jacobs' job, and Josh Jacobs literally went out and had a career season, right? And then the same thing happened in 2024. In a year that everyone should have been thrilled to draft Josh Jacobs on a new team in Green Bay, they swore up and down that the contract was not good and that Marshawn Lloyd was going to be the back that everybody wanted to roster. And what happened? Josh Jacobs also had a fantastic year. Every time you count out Josh Jacobs, he pulls through with greatness. I am loving the discount that we are getting on Travis Etienne, and if anything, that value will continue to grow. It is like we are getting a triple discount, quadruple, honestly, like quintuple, really, quintuple discount on Travis Etienne. The perception of the Saints in general in the run game last year under Kellen Moore helps with that discount significantly. The Saints had just 9 rushing touchdowns last year. They were tied for second in the league, second worst in the league. Tyler Shuck accounted for 3 of those touchdowns. 6 touchdowns on the ground by running backs. That is disturbing. Alvin Kamara clearly fell off, and the usage of Alvin Kamara in the pass game was straight up weird. That might make you apprehensive about the offense as well, but the vast majority of that was with Spencer Rattler. Tyler Shuck was fine in terms of checkdowns when he started, and his running backs were Devin Neal and Audric Estime. The Saints offense honestly showed a lot of life at the end of the season under Tyler Shuck, despite the fact that they were rolling out, again, arguably practice squad running backs. Then we are also getting the discount of people just straight up not believing in Travis Etienne consistently year after year as a running back in general. And it's also a discount because of the strange situation of the fact that Alvin Kamara is still there and clearly refuses to move on. Remember, he said he will not leave. And people might argue that he will still be involved. And that could be valid concern if we didn't see that clear wall that he hit. This is not the same as what we talked about with Saquon Barkley and Josh Jacobs. There was a very clear, visible wall that was not anything to do with workload or regression. We just saw a turn in him, unfortunately, and we've kind of been seeing this trend with him. Travis Etienne will be the 3-down back in the offense, and the Saints offense legitimately had one weapon last season, Chris Olave, post, obviously, the Rashid Shaheed trade, plus Juwan Johnson. They're clearly going to be adding a receiver. Tyler Shuck will get a full offseason to prepare as a starter, and their defense was actually pretty decent last year. When you consider the division that they play on, that they play in, the majority of their games will be competitive. Etienne will probably be drafted as a low-end RB2 based on sheer volume. He will likely finish as a top 12 back. Good discount. Now let's talk about the guy that he left behind, Trevor Lawrence. The back half of the 2025 season completely changed the trajectory of Trevor Lawrence. After a shaky start, right? We finally got to see the rehabilitated quarterback that we have been waiting for under Liam Cohen. A lot of that comes down to coaching. He is finally under a staff that understands how to leverage his strengths, and that late season surge was not a fluke. It was the blueprint of what can be for the future. And I know we've been here before. I know, thinking that Trevor Lawrence was pushing forward only to get smacked in the face overdrafting him, but 2026 can be excellent and great value in terms of his ADP. I am definitely going to be higher on him than consensus. Heading into 2026, the biggest factor for Lawrence is the sheer volume of talent that he has in the receiving core. It's really quite a bit overcrowded. While the receiver room isn't really great for us, it's great for the quarterback. We got the extension of Jacoby Myers. Brian Thomas Jr. was a mess, but we know that he is capable of unreal numbers. Travis Hunter seems slated for mainly defense, but again, he probably will still be used every now and then, maybe as an offensive weapon, a little gimmicky maybe, but that just adds to another option for Trevor Lawrence. Then we have Parker Washington that is obviously going to be a factor. It's a nice little group, a nice little solid, maybe not like the outlier like Justin Jefferson type, Jamar Chase, but it's a nice overall solid group for Trevor Lawrence to work with. Now, when we're talking about Parker Washington from week 7 through the end of the season, he was actually a target monster, leading the team in literally almost every receiving category. So, hey, buy into it. All we need to figure out is if Bashal Tutin can fulfill that receiving role that Travis Etienne had, but bottom line, that momentum that we had at the end of 2025 is real. Between the improved offense and the scheme, the depth at receiver, his rushing upside, Trevor Lawrence is in a prime position to be a serious problem for defenses in 2026. The headache isn't whether or not we think Trevor Lawrence will produce. It's just trying to figure out which one of his receivers is actually going to be the one that holds the most value for us. I thought that we were going to be getting a big discount on both Ladd McConkey and Quentin Johnston, but Ladd McConkey's current ranking is inside the top 20, so that is definitely a discount on his 2025 ADP for sure, so that's great. But not as much of a discount as I thought we were going to be able to get. I might find myself bypassing him. Now again, no fade, no issue or anything negative about him. But in terms of value, I might find myself bypassing him sometimes and targeting Quentin Johnston. Johnston and McConkey play two very different roles, and they can coexist and be successful together, and there is more than enough volume for Johnston to exceed his ADP. Right now, Johnston is ranked as consensus wide receiver 45. That is ridiculous, in my opinion, considering the fact that he was wide receiver 25 last season in average fantasy points per game in half PPR. Perhaps the trade talk made people panic and move him down in rankings, but considering that he is outperformed his current ranking and did so in a season where the Chargers' pass game struggled significantly due to injuries to the offensive line, the math isn't really mathing for me for Johnston to be ranked that low. That's egregious in my opinion. And we know, here's the big kicker, we know the system is getting an upgrade to be more pass friendly. Johnston is giving me 2025 Michael Pittman vibes. Obviously not the same play style, right? But the fact that Pittman also had a very illogical ranking despite the clear upgrades and the fact that he was proven to outperform his ADP. That's the same situation here. We are consistently going to be getting a discount on Quentin Johnston here because of the perception of that dreadful rookie season. If his ADP remains where it is, even if it were to jump 5 to 10 spots, we would still be getting a massive discount on him and his upside. I would be remiss to not mention Jalen Coker. If you followed me this past season, you already know I came in with such high expectations for Coker in 2025, and I do feel like those expectations were met. I'm a proud mom on this one. That overall stats, right? Look, that does not show us the true picture because, again, there was a lot working against him this season. He missed the first 6 games of the season due to a high ankle sprain. They eased him in for a couple of games. He then finally hit his stride and he came through with some very solid performances with 4 games over double-digit fantasy points in the back half of the season where he finally pushed Xavier Legette out of the way, clearly, in terms of reliability and target share. And then he had the playoff explosion, 9 receptions, over 100 yards, a touchdown. I feel very confident in saying that he will be the second look of this Panthers receiving core in 2026. And we don't have to worry really about the addition potentially of another tight end because at this point, it's very clear that that role is just not consistent enough in Dave Canales' offense. We saw it here. We saw it in Tampa Bay as well. There is an ever-present issue, though, of Bryce Young's volume, and that is what will keep him from ever being a high skyrocketed sleeper pick, right? Because of the fact that there's just this known issue, unfortunately. It's tough for anyone to have upside when your quarterback throws for over 200 yards, literally, in just 4 games. But we did see Canales allow Young to air it out when necessary. And when he did, he was successful. It's not an issue. He could do it. It's just whether or not they're going to let him do it. But there was clear progress made last season, and it's not as if we have to draft Coker at some kind of meaningful ADP. He should be a big late round target for you guys. Great option. Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. You can find me across all social media platforms at It's Tara Time, so make sure that you are locked in, tune in, subscribe, turn on notifications, and all that good stuff. We are heading strong into 2026, so stick around.